Hi, this is Gregory Brown with RMUnicorn, the Ruby Mendicant University video log. Earlier in the week I was talking about the 5 factors of improving technical education or education in general. 2 days ago we talked about decentralization, and today I want to talk about individualization or personalization. And this is the thing that I think is the #1 possibly thing that we need to do to make education better. I know that throughout my primary school and throughout college that we had advisors or guidance counselors, but that typically what that meant is that you would see someone once per year or once per semester to sign up courses for you. There may be a little bit of personal chat or something like that, but nothing really in depth that was just focused on you. In college I was lucky enough to have some people that sort of acted as advisors towards me that helped me a little bit more, but for the most part in traditional education the concept of an advisor is a fairly hands-off sort of role. And I think that this is a big problem because, well, first of all, we don't have a system that's quite flexible enough to facilitate wildly different needs that come from just the different people who will go through these courses. But it's also just a sort of pre-assumption that there's this sort of template that people can follow and that people fall into just a handful of different paths. And I completely disagree with that notion, and even in the context of a single 3-week course you can see the great differences that exist between people. Even when we do a 2-day training or a single-day training, the differences start to emerge with people. And the thing is that individualization is key, but that you really need to have very skilled instructors to be able to do this sort of thing. And not just anyone can sort of on the fly adjust their material to reach all sorts of different people. But with RMU, the approach that we've been taking is just to leave a very large amount of time for this sort of thing. We do office hours at least twice a week for several hours at a time, and I've mentioned that before in some of these videos. But the interesting thing is that while there are certain patterns that come up among the students in terms of similar things that they're struggling with, a lot of the conversation is about completely different things. You know, it's amazing because you can look at people and you can't put them on a single dimensional spectrum from raw beginner to expert. Instead, these are all people who have some skills in some area and some skills in another, and where certain teaching styles will work for some of them and not for the other ones. So I think part of it is developing a deeper sense of care, first of all. I've in a lot of ways sort of subjectively evaluated the work that we're doing, allowing different students to focus on different aspects of the problem and get something else out of it. You know, so even though they're working the same core theme on each problem that they're working on and sort of have the same rough project, I allow and encourage people to emphasize and explore in areas that are of interest to them. So while some students may primarily get the experience of, say, learning to do test-driven development for the first time, others might be caring a whole lot about something like the overall object-oriented design of their project. Some people may want to try out a new tool. Other people may want to play around with a new technique that they've learned that they've not put into place yet. And we sort of actively encourage these sort of things, and we talk about some of the interesting things that come up in the general sessions, but then we really try to dig in along the lines of each person's interests as much as we can on a one-on-one basis. And I think that that's one of the things that a teacher of any sort can really do that is somewhat unique. If a teacher has become a teacher through having a tremendous amount of experience in an actual field, rather than just learning sort of what the book tells you, then the number one beneficial thing that you can do for students is offer them a offer them an opportunity to interact with someone who has a great deal of experience across a lot of different distinct concepts. So I guess what I'm saying is that if you've got teachers who are experience driven, that the benefit of it is that they probably have a fairly broad understanding. And I feel like that's the case with me, or at least I can get access to people who do have the knowledge necessary to help these students. And I've found that to be like the amazing, amazing thing that's been coming out of RMU. I mean, I'm literally ranging from explaining to people the concept of encapsulation, just basic, fundamental object-oriented programming concepts, all the way up to talking about, complex design patterns and talking about really subtle things about how these things are done conventionally in communities and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's amazing what the range in our courses are, and I think that that's a good thing. What it requires is it requires problems that are sufficiently interesting and sufficiently complex that there are several different inroads into them and several different outcomes from them. So that sort of thing is essential to what we're doing. And I guess if we're going to talk about a general education context, it means that you simply cannot offer problems that have a guidebook with the answer in them. If you're giving problems that have a single answer, you're discouraging individualization, which to me really kills people's creativity. It also requires a teacher who has a depth of experience, at least within the topic that they're teaching, and ideally in a lot of the topics that sort of lay on the boundary lines. And lastly, it really requires someone who's willing to admit when they don't know something. I've been in educational scenarios where someone will pontificate about their very strong opinions about areas outside of their core competency. I've tried to avoid that as much as I can in this course, in which if someone gets into a topic that I don't feel that I can speak on with any sort of confidence, I do my best to tell them what I would do if I were in that situation. I tell them who they might want to talk to or where they might want to look, and then I encourage them to go and do that and then report back. And in this way, we are really facilitating an individual learning environment. Now, the thing about banking your entire educational experience on people being motivated enough to come up with and solve their own problems is that you really need motivated people. This approach does not lend itself to people who want to sort of coast by, and without putting the effort in, people will really get minimal value from this sort of thing. But this is why RMU sort of takes a metered approach by requiring entrance exams, requiring people to propose projects before they even start. I feel fairly confident that everybody in our courses is already sort of in that mindset because they've sort of proven themselves. Now, that's not something that's going to be 100% true through the whole history of time, but so far we've had really good results with it. So I actually don't think that it's a bad idea for educational programs to require prerequisite learning, either showing proof that you've done something that qualifies you for taking a course based on that, or showing some code ahead of time, showing that you understand those concepts, or actually doing things like we do with this entrance exam. I think that if we really want to raise the bar of education, that's to go across all fronts, not just the organizations, not just the teachers, but for the students as well. And through that, we can start to treat people like creative, responsible, hardworking adults. And even when you go to the younger ages, the earlier we can push this down so that students, even if they're young students, have a sense of self-responsibility for their learning experience, the better. And what we really need to do is get extremely skilled people with enough experience to have a depth of understanding across a wide range of topics in one-on-one interaction regularly, so that people don't feel like they're just filling a seat. Instead, they feel like they're together on a journey with the person who's guiding them, and all of the other people who are in the course. And through that, we get diversity. Through that, we get a higher quality of education, and it actually makes it possible for educators to learn things from their students. And I can say for sure over the last 2 months, I've learned a hell of a lot from the people that I've been working with here at RMU. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we'll be back with Jordan again to talk a little bit about the technology updates that we have coming up in the coming weeks. So keep watching. Let me know if you've got questions, and thanks.